Today I'm gonna read you the fairy tale called The Shoemaker and the Elves. A shoemaker, by no fault of his own, had become so poor that at last he had nothing left but the leather to make one pair of shoes. In the evening, he cut out the shoes he would sew the next morning, lay down quietly in his bed, and said his prayers before he fell asleep. The next morning, he was about to sit down to work when he found the 2 shoes standing finished on his table. You can imagine how surprised he was. He was so astounded and did not know what this could mean. He took the shoes in his hands to examine them. They were so neatly made that there was not one bad stitch in them. They were crafted like a masterpiece. Soon after, a customer came in who was delighted with the beautiful made shoes and paid extra for them. With this money, the shoemaker was able to buy leather for 2 more pairs of shoes. He was so happy about it. And at night, he cut them out, and the next morning, he was about to set to work on them with fresh hope, but he discovered that they had already been made. Buyers came for these shoes, and from them, he received enough money to buy leather for 4 more pairs. The following morning, he found the 4 pairs made, and so it went on. What he cut out in the evening was finished by the morning and done with such skill that customers loved them. The shoemaker was no longer poor and at last became a very wealthy man. One evening, not long before Christmas, the man said to his wife before going to bed, "What do you think? Shall we stay up tonight to see who it is that gives us this helping hand?" The woman liked the idea because, like the shoemaker, she was really interested in finding out who it could be. So they lit a candle, hid themselves in a corner of the room behind some hanging clothes, and watched. When it was midnight, 3 little men with ragged clothes came, sat down at the shoemaker's table, and took all the leather that was cut out before them. They began to stitch and sew and hammer so precisely and so quickly with their little fingers that the shoemaker could not take his eyes off them. The little men did not stop until all the shoes were made, and then they ran quickly away. Next morning, the shoemaker's wife said, "The little men have made us rich. We must show that we are grateful for it. Their clothes are ragged and they must be cooled. I will make them little shirts and coats and vests and trousers, and knit both of them a pair of stockings, and you could make them 3 little pairs of shoes." The man said, "I would be very glad to do that." A few nights later, when everything was ready, instead of the cut-out leather for making into shoes, they laid their presents all together on the table and then hid to watch what would happen. At midnight, the little men came bounding in, ready to get to work. They did not find any cut-out leather to work on, but only the handsome little clothes. At first they were astonished, and then they were delighted. They dressed themselves in their shirts and coats and vests and trousers and stockings and shoes with great speed and singing, "Now we are boys so fine to see, we need no longer cobbler's speed." They danced and skipped and leaped over chairs and benches. Then they danced out the door. They never came back, but all went well, for the shoemaker and his business flourished through all the days of his life.